which brings top business leaders from prestigious industries and the arts to Rome Business School so that our community can hear and learn from them. I'm so excited about today's program. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Akinwande Akinsulire, who will be speaking to us on the topic, market analysis and business model development. Before we hand over to him, let's have a brief bio of Mr. Akinwande. He is an innovative business leader with a strong track record in innovation management, strategic planning, capacity building, and enterprise development. Over the past decade, he has championed more than 30 impact-driven programs, driving innovations across Africa. These initiatives have transformed the lives of over 40,000 young individuals, entrepreneurs, and underserved women in 25 Nigerian states and 9 other African countries. Akinwande is at the forefront of innovation, steering the Startup Support Unit at Co-Creation Hub, a Pan-African innovation enabler. Leveraging his rich experience, he nurtures and scales innovative startups through incubation, acceleration, and growth-focused programs continent-wide. Additionally, Akinwande's pivotal roles on the boards of directors and as an advisor to multiple ventures and not-for-profit organizations in Africa underscore his commitment to innovation's expansive reach. Recognized with multiple awards, including 2019 Most Outstanding Business Consultant, 2020 Startup Consultant of the Year, Akinwande is a certified management consultant by the International Council of Management Consulting Institutes. His global education from institutions like the University of Pennsylvania and Easton Business School uniquely positions him to provide cutting-edge innovation, consulting, and high-impact enterprise development, setting the standard for businesses in both developed and developing economies. Okay, at this point, we will hand over the floor to our speaker, Mr. Akinwande Akinsulire. You're welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very, very much for the profile reading. I want to say good afternoon to everyone on the call today. Please confirm you can hear me loud and clear.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
We can hear you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to engaging everyone on this call today, and I want to really appreciate the team at Rome Business School for inviting me to take this session. Okay, I think this is better. Okay, so what we're looking at within the very short period that we have is to look at business analysis or market analysis and business models. So I'm going to try to share my screen. Okay, I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes.
Yes, we can. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So basically, right, like you heard in my profile, I've been doing this, supporting businesses, both at very early stage, for a while. I started out in management consulting, where the focus was on large corporate organization, the likes of MTN, Etisalat, First Bank, and all that, before really getting into the core of now providing some of the interventions offered to those large corporates to to smaller businesses, then of course now doing a lot within the tech ecosystem. And from, all of these engagements, there are a few things that I've come to realize that are very critical, when you're thinking about starting up your own business. My assumption is that most of the people on this call are professionals who have taken one course or the other at Rome Business School, but who are also now thinking about exploring entrepreneurship or looking at founding their own startup. Or perhaps maybe you've even started and you're thinking of pivoting, or maybe you're just an enthusiast, just like the idea of entrepreneurship, and you want to be able to deepen what you do as an entrepreneur within your organization. I think whichever way, this conversation will be useful. I also wouldn't want to overload you information, so I've kind of streamlined the focus of the session, and I really hope that you get a lot of value, from this. Just for context, I've also founded a couple of businesses. I've tried to explore different things as well, learned in the course of the journey. A few are still doing well. Some have died off, but I have 2 active ones that are still doing, very well as, as a founder myself. So market analysis, your strategic advantage. When we talk about market analysis, what we're saying is that what information, what insights can you pull from your environment that becomes like an advantage for you, as you build or develop your own solution, right? Think about it this way. The entire world is a marketplace. Marketplace that is fragmented into, different locations. Before the advent of technology, what it means is that whenever you want to play in any particular marketplace, you have to be physically present, in that marketplace. But what we've also seen since the advent of, the internet is that you can participate in the marketplace across different regions without having to physically be there. But depending on the business model you run and the kind of customers that you're trying to serve, you might still need to be physically present in certain location in order to serve those customers. So for you to know what kind of model even works well or is most appropriate for what you're trying to build, it's important that you do market analysis. So even thinking about it from our engagement with, health professionals or with GPs, when your GP wants to offer you any advice or help you treat any ailment, it begins with what we call diagnosis. There are a few inquiries that, your doctor would like to make. Ask a few questions just to be able to draw as much insight as possible so that it can serve you appropriately. The same thing also happens, when it comes to, starting a business. Again, another analogy is when you think about the wars. If you think about the wars, particularly when you think about, military, side to war, you see the general that wants to invade, a particular territory, come with his marshals, with the map of the territory they want to invade, on a large surface or a table, and they begin to map out the territorial location, to say, okay, we're going to attack from, from this hand, we're going to come in through this hand. We have this number of foot soldiers, they're coming through this hand. We're going to do area bombardment, and all of that. I mean, if you are the kind of person that does action, action movies, I'm sure that you're really quite familiar, with what I'm trying to say. All of that boils down to the fact that at the heart of every strategy that is going to be successful, at the heart of every model that is going to be successful, is what we call the market analysis. There is that need to really map the territory that you're trying to, get into. And that's why the first thing when it comes to market analysis is knowing your market. Knowing your market, knowing the space where you want to play in. We've seen a lot of people come into play in different sectors, but also bump their fingers. Part of the things that we see is the Me Too mindset. Or if this person can do it, I can also do it. I don't know if it has ever happened to you, or maybe you know of someone that got into certain business because he saw somebody else, doing it. It's called Me Too mindset. Oh, it's frozen food business that is really moving, then people got into frozen food business, without even understanding it. Oh, it's cattle rearing or it's goat rearing. People get into it without even understanding, the market, right? Oh, it's tech now, it's tech, particularly fintech. People getting into that space just because somebody says it. The whole idea here is to even understand the market yourself, not based on what they said, what they think, or what you're seeing, or what you're assuming, but really doing basic analysis on the market. And I tell people that very easy things that you could do is just by reading different, insight materials, following some key thought leaders, following some, key publications. You don't have to be an economist to really understand what's going on in the market. You just need to pay attention. You just need to dedicate some time to reading or to listening, and you gather information around the market. So you want to be able to know, okay, what are the opportunities that exist, within this particular market? What are the opportunities that exist? Where are the highest potential, for businesses within this particular market? We talk about people migrating, the old jackpotting. And, we're also very quick to say that, hey, even though our people are, they are leaving the country, there are a lot of white guys, coming in, maybe white guys from the West or some guys from Asia, from Middle East. You see people literally coming into this country, every now and then. What are they coming to find? Why are they coming in? Because they are seeing opportunities, that other people are not seeing. So what you want to really assess is where exactly are the opportunities in this area I want to explore. So you have your area of interest, you have your area of capabilities, you have, whatever sector that you think that it's of interest to you or where you think you can add value. But what you want to be able to even assess is that what opportunity exists, in that area. For example, when you think about the GDP of Nigeria, every year, every government try to take a stock or do an analysis, or even in most cases, it's the World Bank, that does this analysis, or International Monetary Funds or IFC, they come down, they break down the GDP, the gross domestic product of every country into different sector to say that this is how this sector is performing. The entire GDP of this country is made up of contribution from this different sector, right? And from those analyses, we tend to now see sectors that are contributing more to the GDP of, the country more than the other ones. So we can see areas where there are still opportunities versus where, the opportunities are drying. By the time you observe the trend, over time, I mean, you don't need so much, don't need to do so much research to see that, there's significant opportunity in agriculture, right now, because people need to eat in order to be sustained. And right now, there's so much challenge around particularly with the herdsmen clash and all of those things, with farmers and all that, so you want to really map out to say that, okay, where are the opportunities? Where are the areas where we can bring in technology to come and optimize the service or even create an entirely new market? Where are those opportunities? What's the size of the opportunity? The second layer to it is to say, who are the customers? Who are the customers within this segment? If we are saying that we've identified opportunity within a sector, within an industry that can potentially be explored, who are the customers? Who are the people that we're going to be serving? What do they want? What are their pain points? What are the things that they would love to have? There is a tool that we use when we're doing, customer profiling. The whole idea is to map the needs of customers within that particular area, but I'm not going to be boring you with, information around that. So what we want to be able to know is, okay, what is the job that the customers in this area wants to get done? What exactly is the job that they want to get done? For example, let me give you a case study. Some years back, we were very comfortable, using the bank, because when we leave Nigeria and go outside of Nigeria, we see that, oh, yes, transaction also take a couple of days, in the West. There is no tap of a finger transaction. It needs to be verified, validated, then money move from one bank account, to another bank account. And we were having the same thing. The only difference is that there are times that some banks could not complete those transactions faster. So it means that it takes them longer periods, as against the industry average of about 3 days, to move money once you've presented your check and all of that. But that was good. That was nice. There was no issue with it. But there was these guys that saw an opportunity to say, why do people really have to go to the bank to complete these transactions? Why do people really have to wait this number of days in order to move money? And they came up with the InterSwitch platform. And before you know it, we have the Paystack guys who leverage that opportunity to say that, hey, if we are able to solve payment or transaction problem, there is a huge market for it. This customer's pain point is the fact that they always have to go to the branch. They always have to queue. They always have to wait this number of days before this transaction is closed. And if you are able to solve this problem, we're going to be solving a significant problem. So you can see they identified the opportunity within the markets that they were serving, and they understood what the customers really want. And were able to create, a solution that addresses it. The third level, which is very important, and also as important as you understanding your customers, is to know your rivals, know your competition. Particularly if you are exploring an area where you are not the first person, you are not the first player in that area. It's not like you are shattering a new area, right? You have players in that space. And I must also mention that it is not all the time that, oh, it's something of advantage or it is advantageous that you are always the first mover in a new space. You don't necessarily have to be a first mover, to take advantage of space. In fact, in innovation space, in innovation ecosystem, the way we think about it is that you can be the first mover, right? But someone else can come and innovate on what you've done. Take, for example, today we have Facebook and we're really excited about Facebook. But when you think about the social network, Facebook was not the first social network that we had. Before Facebook was MySpace, then the i5, right? But all of those guys came at a point where the whole idea of social network has not really gained the traction or the momentum that it has gained today. And one of the reasons why it didn't gain the momentum as it is today is because of limited access to internet and as well as smart devices. But these guys were the first to market, right? They were the first to market, way ahead of, of Facebook, right? So, but by the time Facebook launched, Facebook kept iterating, and the focus of the innovation of Facebook was to say, how can I drive engagement by increasing the number of people in your physical circle that comes online to engage with you in the virtual world? So how do we replicate that whole idea that brings you with people that you love in physical circle, online? And they start thinking about it, start iterating our algorithm such that it becomes almost like second nature to users of Facebook to want to share their wins, share their excitement, with their friends. But the way they want to do it is to do it online. So that whole innovation is what now paved way to Facebook's leadership, in that industry. Of course, we can talk about how they also do strategic buyout for people or new players that want to outsmart them. They have a way of strategically acquiring, those ones. Of course, we've seen what they did with Instagram and with WhatsApp. But just to highlight the fact that you don't necessarily have to be the first in a new space to be a winner in that space. So when you think about an area where you want to explore and you see that, oh, there are some great guys already playing there. Yes, you now need to think about how do we create a blue ocean, out of the red ocean? How do we identify a particular class of customers that my competitor is currently serving and improve on the service delivery to these customers far beyond the quality that my competitor is currently offering? So when you have that idea of the limitations of your competitor, it's very easy, or it's much more easier to design solution, that meets their need. It's much more easier to design solutions that address your problem. Let me give you another interesting case. When the whole world was still, exploring, fuel, exploring petrol, gas, diesel, to power our various vehicles, the Tesla model was being developed. And the whole idea of the Tesla model, when it was being started, it was like, hey, how do we have a vehicle that is 100% powered by electricity? How possible is that? How do we even have driverless car? How possible is that? And all that. And all of a sudden, it became a hinting that every government wants to be part of the, zero emission, movement. And that led immediately to, Tesla selling significant number of his vehicles because he has been innovating, working around that for a very long time. But guess what? Even though Tesla is like the first to market in that space, there are a whole new other players now, particularly in China, and in Europe, that are also building models, improving on what Tesla even currently have. Can't remember the name of the rival now in China, because they have the numbers, is beginning to gain significant traction ahead of Tesla. And with the trade war currently happening, between US and China, perhaps within a short period, the market available to Tesla is going to shrink significantly, in China. And those guys are going to be making significant headway. So again, just to highlight the fact that, hey, when you have a rival or a player in that space, all you just need to do is to iterate. For example, the price of the electric vehicle made by this company in China is almost at 1/3 of what, Tesla is offering, right? So they're able to clearly say that, hey, the kind of buyers that we have here, we would like to have it, maybe cheaper than what the competitor is offering. And based on that, develop a new model that leverage pricing as a value proposition, But the key thing is that one must have a solution that works for the customers that you're addressing. So we talked about knowing your market, conducting your analysis. I mean, part of what big players, do is to engage consultants to help them conduct such analysis so that they can gather as much insight, information as possible. But these are things that you can do. All you just need to do is to, read reports, on your desktop, go to Google, search for information, from newspapers, you can get insights on different markets. When you listen to, key industry leaders share their thoughts on a particular industry, they will give you statistics on that market. When you listen to business segments, of national news, you will get insight on what's happening in the market. What you just need to do is to be able to put all of these things together and provide some insights, to you as you explore. Then the second layer is understand your customers. Who are the key customers you want to build for? What are their pains? So that you can improve on whatever it is that your competitor is offering to them and design what works for them. Now, I'm just going to quickly switch to business models. Typically, when you want to look at the entire business model that a business operates on, there is a simple canvas that can provide like a guide. It has like 9 blocks, on how to design your entire business model, right? So it's called the business model canvas. But I'm not going to be going the route of business model canvas today. What I'm going to be focusing on is to help you see different ways that you can actually run a tech-enabled startup. Though I will touch on traditional business as well, but what are the various business models that are available for those that really want to explore, new businesses? So business model 1 will be software as a service. Software as a service. Now, there are some organizations that discovered this very early. When you think about, about Cisco, when you think about Oracle, right? And you think about, the platforms that they've built to help businesses better manage, both from networking side, but from most importantly from interactions within the company's ecosystem. These are old companies that have understood what it means to provide software as a service. So you can build a solution that is offered as a service. So for example, Salesforce. I know a number of you in your organization probably use Salesforce, to manage and track your engagement with prospective customers. It's a software as a service. You probably have like HR platforms, that manages your payroll, manages all of those things. These are software as a service. So as you think about launching a business, you can think about the professional service that you offer as an individual and think about how can this be digitized? How can this be digitized? And I'm not saying that you set up a platform where people can consult you, or where people can book for your time for consulting. Now, that is still not software as a service, because the implication of software as a service means that without a human component operating it, the platform in itself can serve the customers. So without having someone at the back end engaging, the platform itself can serve the customer. So that's very important. It means that you want to build something that is independent of your own engagement, such that you are able to serve customers, real time. We have the Flutterwave platform, the Paystack platforms, that of course you're probably familiar with. Then another model is a freemium model. Now, when we say freemium model, now it can apply to streaming platforms, like Spotify, can apply to platforms like Jobboard. Your idea is that you are offering an online service that is free to the users, right? And your idea is that by the time you gain traction, you have users that are interested in this solution or using this platform, you can now eventually put like a gate to say that, there is a premium subscription. I give you a few examples. Now, you see people that are into media services, For example, maybe what you're doing is you're sharing insights. You see things like Financial Times, you know, they used to be like a traditional newspaper, you know, business, and created a digital version of it. And from creating a digital version, you know, they now put a gate, you know, to it. So initially it was free, but now they leverage the freemium model to move into subscription model. You know, so what it means is that you have access to the information. There's a bit of it that you can access for free, but to have access to the complete information, you need to pay certain amounts of money. So there is the freemium model, there's a subscription-based revenue model, right? And generally, right, when you see people create solutions that you can easily use, for example, one of the quick one is, you know, this invoices system, you know, that people just download and just create your invoice and just move code with. I mean, yeah, it's free. There's a version of the QuickBooks that, you know, used to be free, available free, you know, but as people get used to the freemium and they see the value it offers, then you're asking them to pay for that particular platform. Introduce the premium version, you know, to them. And because they found value in it, they can pay for it. So typically the freemium approach is to use it as like a funnel to get people to even buy into it. So either you're building a software as a service, you need to think about freemium models, you know, to bring in pipelines. And as people come, so again, you see some solutions will tell you that 5-day trial, 30 days trial, 14 days trial, their strategy to get people into the pipeline before they now start monetizing it. But your idea is to get us to see that, hey, you can build platform that is freemium that you can monetize at other level. Now, when you look at platforms like Facebook as well, you know, Facebook is presented as a freemium platform, you know, but there is something you're paying with. You're paying with your data, right? Because they are now operating, they operate a data or an agency model. They collect your data, analyze your data, and use that data to design marketing, you know, plans that are targeted towards you. So even though they're not charging you as a user, you are paying them by providing data that they're analyzing. You know, so each time you post, each time you like something, each time you follow, you know, an account, you are showing that this is what you are interested in, and they are using that information to design, you know, marketing approach by the time somebody is paying on the platform to do some marketing. So just to help you also understand how this freemium elements and putting premium features, you know, also works. Then, of course, the subscription model, meaning that you set in place a system that allows people to pay recurrent fees. I'm sure for a lot of homes in Nigeria, you know, DSTV, you know, it's on a subscription basis, right? People pay that every month. You know, some might probably even have auto deduction, whatever it is. You know, but when you look at platforms like Netflix, they have that built into it. They don't need to consult you before they bill you at the end of the month. Already it's integrated into it. Your card is there for you to use the service, right? So how do you also build this as a way of billing? You know, how do you use this as a way of engaging your customers recurrently? You see, the subscription model, when you think about what you're offering and you think about it, say that, okay, instead of offering a one-time fee, you know, for this particular service that I'm offering or this product I'm selling, can I break it into a 12-month period? Can I break it into a 24-month period such that people are paying for it in bits over a period of time? And at the end of the time, I will have made more money. You know, the whole idea of buying now, pay later, it also came from this whole subscription model to say that how do we get them to commit over a period such that it's easier on them? You know, so you want to think about your business, your offering, you know, that way. There are people that do subscription for, you know, for barbing. There are people that do subscription for laundry. There are people that do subscription. There are different things that people have now introduced subscription into now. So you want to think about it, because the idea of subscription is that you're able to lock in customers for a period of time, you know. So instead of chasing them, what you're thinking about is ensuring that you are adding good value that will keep them coming so that they don't cancel their subscription. So you want to think about that as a model for your business. Then another model is the marketplace approach. A marketplace approach is to say that, hey, you're just creating a platform, it's also called platform as a service anyway. You're creating a platform where people that have quality service in a particular area can offer the service to people who need it. And I put some very, very notable examples, here. The Airbnb, for example, is to say that how do we create a platform for those that need accommodation and connect them with people that have accommodation, to offer. So all they get is just transaction fee. They don't own, the accommodation. They don't have to engage with the customers that want to stay in the accommodation. They've just provided the platform. So you might want to think about it to say, okay, maybe in your industry, in your sector, there is some service that can be captured via a platform that nobody have really thought about. Maybe you want to create a platform for legal services or legal advisory, whatever it is, but we've seen it work for Airbnb, we've seen it work for Uber, and we've now seen people duplicated that model. And one of the things that is also notable within the tech ecosystem is that when you look at startups that really scale very quickly, or attain the status of unicorn very quickly, we see that they are often within the marketplace or e-commerce, space, notably, right? Because again, you don't have to build physical products. You just need to create that platform and ensuring that you are offering unique value, proposition to both the buyer and the seller of service. Let me emphasize that. So I'm talking about the marketplace platform for services like what we have for Airbnb and for Uber. But when you run e-commerce model, there are nuances to e-commerce model. And those nuances is around the logistics that power what you're doing. Because what you're basically doing is that you're connecting buyers and sellers. And when we say buyers, it means people that are selling physical products, connecting the people that need those physical products. It could be for fashion, it could be for fashion accessories, it could be for books, it could be for whatever it is. What you're doing is you're connecting them. The challenge is usually around the logistics, right? It took Amazon a while. It took them a while. In fact, for about a decade, they were running at loss for their e-commerce platform for about a decade. It took them a long while to hack it, but they've hacked it, so that element could be very tricky. We also still see, the struggles of the big guys, in that space. But if what you're building is to raise funds for you to pivot into some other areas, you might want to explore what works, but you need to create a niche market for it. I mean, part of what we've seen in recent time is what the logistics businesses, are also doing, like the Glovo, the Child Deck, they are leveraging this and still delivering physical services, and it's working for them. So you want to think about that as well. Then I talked about data and agency model, which YouTube, Meta and the likes are operating. Yes, you go there, watch videos. What they do is that they collect your data and leverage your data to process, ads for you. So when you come back the next time to watch ads, you see that the ad is also tailored. And because like Google, they have like an ecosystem, meaning that when you go search for something on Google, that thing that you search is noted, in your cache. And by the time you go on another page that has Google features embedded, you see that advert just chasing you around. Maybe you check for something on Amazon that you want to buy, or on Jumia or on Konga. They just realize that every other page that you go to that has adverts showing, there is that advert just popping. It's because they are leveraging your, the cookies you downloaded from the website and the cache in your memory to really do all of those things, but it's an ecosystem that they've built to leverage data and, the agency agency model. This is really very tricky because if your website is not like going to become like top 10 websites in the next couple of months, if you don't have what is strong enough to attract people, building for adverts is not really, it's not really a good model. It's not really a good model. You know, you need to be doing something completely new to build for advert. I mean, if you remember then, there was one of the platforms that was very popular for gossip, you know, and it was like the go-to place for gossip, you know, some years back, maybe almost about 10 years back, you know, owned by a lady, you know, and everyone that wants to do adverts to get, that was where they were going to, you know, but a lot of things have also changed since then, you know, so still struggle in revenues now, unlike then. So that's important to note that you have to be that go-to website. I mean, they had to do all manner of things to drive people to the website, you know, including lies and, you know, gossips and all of that. But again, you need a strong value proposition to keep that, you know, sustainable. Then when you think from traditional approach, of course, you're probably familiar with the retailer model, which is what ShopRite operates and some neighborhood stores. Is still a very strong proposition. You know, if you're able to find the right product, you're able to source it from the right sources, you know, if you're able to get some exclusive dealership, it's still a very unique proposition. Same also applies to franchise model, you know, people still build strong businesses around franchising, a very strong model. So it's something that you can still explore to say, okay, what are those things that you found outside of the country? What are the products that you found? What are the, you know, the unique things that you've seen, you know, that you can introduce? You know, for example, today there's really no very strong coffee brand, you know, in the market. Here we have a few. I mean, one of them I also support, you know, that makes us happy, you know, but just to say that there are the global brands that we don't even have yet. And there's a quality to their service that people don't experience yet. So it means that if your approach is to buying franchise, it's a strong model to explore. All you just need to do is to identify which one should you pursue. You know, of course, there is also the manufacturer model, which we see, you know, in hard products and all of that. Just to close with this, for people that are aspiring, you know, entrepreneurs or aspiring startup founders, what I would say is that you need to take action, and your action begins with exploring and experimenting. You know, you need to explore what are the various models that I could play with, sitting, researching, gathering as much information as possible, doing scenario analysis, speaking with subject matter experts, players in that space will give you a lot of insights to see, okay, if these has been tried before, if it can work or if it will work. I often tell people, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to burn your fingers where someone's hand has been cut off before. You know, you don't need to suffer what others have suffered before. You just need to leverage their insights. When a business shut down, you want to go and find out. People have tried to explore this sector before, but they failed. Why did they fail? Why did the business close up? Why did it work out for them? You know, people are very quick to say, oh, they were not smart. Oh, they didn't see the, you know, no, it's not just about that. You need to really find out. Focus on value. What problem are you going to be solving? That's very critical. What's the value you're going to be adding? Is it from the quality of service? Is it from the pricing? Is it from time to deliver? Is it because of the quality of personnel? Is it because of the quality of security? You know, is it, what exactly is the value that you're going to be adding? You know, people still have this notion, you know, about security of the iPhone versus the Android devices like Samsung. You know, it's a perception that Apple has intentionally built into it. So what perception do you want to strongly project? You know, what value do you want to offer? These are very important things, you know, you want to know. Then lastly, ensure that whatever model you are going to choose is able to generate sustainable income streams. So it's not something that you're taking advantage of just a business or an opportunity of now. I tell you as a founder, you don't think transactional, or you don't think in terms of one-time transaction. You know, when you build a business just around government contracts, you are a transactional person. You're not building a sustainable business. So when you think about that model, can it generate sustainable income, you know, today, tomorrow, the day after, the month after, you know, and customers keep coming, such that what you're generating exceed the cost that you're putting in. So that profit factor is very important. So these are just like 3 key action plans I've just decided to highlight here. So with these, I come to the end of my presentation. I'll be very short. You know, I hope you've been able to learn 1 or 2 things from this conversation. Maybe if I had the profile of people that will be joining the class, maybe it would have helped me also tailor it very well, you know, to your specific needs. But I really hope that you're able to pick 1 or 2 things, you know, from this conversation. Over to you, my moderator.
All right. Thank you very much for that insightful presentation. I don't think it was short. I think it was direct. And some of us actually like it that way, because then you can take away something to chew on. And when you started, you said you don't want to give us information overload. And for me, I like it this way, because I can pick 2-3 things that I can go back and reflect on. So can you just use the clapping hand emoji to just clap for him, tell him thank you for the presentation, as we go into the next section, which is questions and answers. Well, before I open it up to the general floor, there are some things you mentioned in the course of your, thank you, Modupe, for clapping. I'm expecting more claps to come in. There are some questions I would like to ask. There are some things you mentioned you didn't dwell much on, which I would think you should just elaborate a little bit on. Someone would say, I'm a business, I mean, I just left my job. I have an idea. I don't have the resources. I don't even know how to go about this. You made mention of studies that the United Nations and other bigger people with deeper pockets do with respect to GDP and all of that, that we can mine to get information without having to necessarily hit the field. But while those can give us an indication as to the areas that have potential in terms of marketable, addressable, a large enough addressable market that may not address the niche, for example. So we may know there's an opportunity in agric, but I want to do ginger, and their report may not go down there into ginger specifically. So someone says, I do not have the pockets, I do not have the expertise, I do not have, you know, to carry out such market analysis. Are there tools or ways that you would advise people who are constrained by resources to carry out such a market analysis?
Thank you. Thank you very much for, you know, for that question. You know, as you alluded to, I encourage people to really read insight reports, you know, from organizations like KPMG, PwC, McKinsey, that provides specific information across different sectors. You know, in recent time, NBS data, you know, has also shown to be improving in quality, you know, so, you know, and all that. But for the tailored or very niche information, I think it all depends on your investment. For example, if you say you're retiring and you want to invest 200 million naira in a business, I don't think is a bad thing for you to first take like 2 million or 5 million to really deepen your depth in that area before you put your 200 million. So what people do is that they look for some very low key, low low quality way of, you just find somebody, just put together a business plan for me and, and they now bond the entire 200 million invested into that. So first, if you have the money, please do proper research. That's why we have people in management consulting. That's why we have business strategists. That's their business, right? Let them do the work for you. But in a case where you don't have as much money to invest, you can reach out to people. And that's one of the benefits that LinkedIn has availed us. You see people that do post on Ginger, for example, you're talking about the Ginger business. Is this someone that is always granting interview on, on Ginger, on this? Anytime between two channels, the guy is talking Ginger, you did and all that. You can reach out. You can attend an event where he's speaking and get to meet him afterwards. You can do a search on Google. You can do a search on LinkedIn to see people that are doing stuff in that area. By the time you reach out to 10 of them, at least 2 will be magnanimous enough to avail you their time, 30 minutes call, 1 hour, and you draw a whole lot of insights. So I think that it's not only when we have money that we can gather this information, we can also even gather this information, by just being intentional in how we reach out and connect to people, for information. Then I think I saw a question. I'll just quickly touch on that before you throw the next question. Someone was asking about what is business model and why is having business model important to business. See, a business model simply talks about how do you really define the value that you offer to your customers and capture that value, from your customer. So basically, when you think about the operations of your business, how that your business operates to make money, that's the model you are running. So for a lot of people, you have a model that you are running, you've just not defined it, or you just don't know that this is the model that you're running. So far you are buying and selling, so far you have a platform, so far you're offering a service, you're already offering, you're already running a model, right? Just that you don't really understand the model that you're running. So that whole process of operating your business, from creating the value to delivering the value to your customers, to getting the, the value from your customers, capturing the value from your customers, is what we call, the business model. So over to you.
Okay. All right. So we are going to be opening the floor very soon, but let me just ask this 3 questions and then just answer them in any order. Then we open the floor to people to unmute and also ask questions. And one of the things that someone would say is, what are the parameters that businesses can use to determine what business model they should adopt? Because choosing the right model can actually make the difference between profitability and failure. You may have a viable business, but if you adopt the wrong model, it can actually lead to failure, I believe so. And so what do I do how do I know what business model to adopt? Number 2, if I adopt that model, how do I test and quickly pivot if I find out that it's not working without losing the market share that I've already, because you know how it is. You're charging people in a certain way or doing it in a certain way, you want to change, and some people feel uncomfortable with those changes, and you could lose your market share by that simple decision if it is not properly handled. So how does one go with work that out?
Yes, I mean, very interesting question. And I will say that at the earlier phase of determining the business you want to, the particular sector you want to focus on and the kind of value you want to create, it's important for one to also think through, the model that one wants to adopt, particularly as it relates to capturing value from the customer. When we say capturing value, that means how you get money from them. So that's where the whole idea of freemium subscription, one-time fee, pay as you go, all of that, comes in. So I think in determining the model you will use, it will be in relative to the kind of customers that you want to serve, right? So I give you an example. If if the DSTV had come to say that the model we run is that all our subscription will pay us the service fee for the year at once. So you calculate it, maybe 23,000 by 12,000, let's assume that that's just about 180,000. Let's just put it roughly as 180,000, for 1 year. The question you should ask is, how many people in the Nigerian market will be willing to pay 180,000 naira for a service at the beginning of the year? That this is just for TV, like, don't worry, we'll watch something else. They start thinking of alternatives to explore and all that. So the whole idea of the subscription now breaks that into bits, right? So people can subscribe for it on a monthly basis. And one of the things that we've also been seeing is that, before, if you need anything that has to do with power, you want to buy a generator, you walk into the store, you pick a generator if you can afford it, and you can only pick the one that you can pay for at the time you walk in. So if all you have in your account is just 200,000, you buy 200,000 equivalent. If what you have is 1 million, you buy 1 million equivalent, right? But now, you've now introduced a model where you can actually buy and pay later. So meaning that the same thing that you need to have certain amounts to buy from me initially, I've now introduced a model that allows you to pay in bits, such that you can own it over a period of time, right? So it's easy for you. I can sell more because there are now more people that falls into that bracket of people that can afford me. So you think about your model in the light of your customers. If all the people you want to sell to are just the high net worth individuals, right? They have all the cash to pick whatever they want to pick and pay for it and move on. But if you want to expand your reach, you want to expand your customer base, you need to think about the reality of the market you are serving. And in a market like Nigeria, subscription offers more, offers more people the ability to be able to afford, certain products. So you want to think about the number of customers you can possibly capture if you run a particular model versus another model. The one-time fee looks good, so you can say, from these are the people that have subscribed for 1 year, but then when you also think about it, how many people are able to pay that amount, on the get-go, from the beginning? Very few. So in order to bring in more people into that funnel, you do a plan that makes it easy for them, to afford your service. So those are the things that determines what model you should take. In relation to your operation costs as well, you need to think about it. And I'll give you an example. We've seen where people introduce subscription model to real estate now. Some get it right when they say that, this property is going for maybe 30 million. And if you pay subscription fee of maybe like 500,000 or 200,000 over this period, you will get it. But where the problem also lies is when they now say that, this thing is 30 million, but you can be paying 50,000 every month, to get it. And by the time you look at the calculation of 50,000 every month, it's going to get into maybe like another 8 years before they finish paying it. And with that model already, all the inflation that could possibly happen, we also catch up with it. So at the end of the day, they don't even have enough funds to even build what they're trying to build because they don't have enough subscribers, so it becomes an integrity issue. So one must think about it in terms of what you want to offer. How much do you need to continually produce and serve the market segment? So that will help you to also establish what the baseline of your subscription will look like. But meanwhile, subscription model is not for all products, right? If your product cannot be sustained leveraging it, you think about other models. Pay as you go is still a viable model. When you go to restaurants, they won't tell you to subscribe. You just enter into the restaurant, you walk into Chicken Republic and you pay as you go, So, but if you want to operate a subscription-based quick service restaurant, it means that you are not addressing the mass market. because once they hit, they've forgotten that they've eaten. They won't pay you subscription. So those are things that you have to really consider: the product, the market you're serving, and the value you're getting from it.
Correct. That's so true. I remember a mechanic shop that had the subscription, that have subscription models. I also know like a food, what you call it, more like a lounge that's also not open. You have to subscribe to be part of it, but then like you said, it's not for the mass market. You subscribe and then you still pay for your food. So thank you so much for that. So please, if you have any questions, you can either put them in the chat box or raise your hand, and then you would be allowed to ask your questions. You can put them in the chat box or raise your hand. I expect to see some questions because this is a very practical class. Questions, anyone? Okay, so while we're waiting for people to either raise their hands.
There's a question in the chat.
There's a question in the chat. Okay, Ms. Akiwande, you may proceed.
I'm trying to see. I hope it's not the one that answered that. I can't.
Yeah, he has already answered that one. He has answered that one. He answered that particular question about why business models are important. Okay, you may raise your hand if you want to ask any question. Okay, I can see a question there. It says, from Dida Maudu. He says, does the franchise system work in Nigeria? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, the franchise system works in Nigeria. There are a couple of businesses that run on franchise model. So we've seen pharmacy stores, run on that franchise model. So for example, you see MedPlus, Health Plus in different places, right? Not those, pharmacies are owned by the founders. They're actually operating on franchise, but you will not know. That's the idea of franchise, right? Anywhere you go into, the standard is still the same, the quality is still the same, the uniform is the same. The same thing also applies to the KFC businesses, that we see around there. They are franchise model, so it still works, right? What you need to ensure is that you are buying a franchise that have that capacity to drive the market itself. So for example, you want to establish a Domino's Pizza, or you want to buy a franchise for the place, you want to be sure that, yes, the brand and where you want to establish your own outlet really aligns. There is connection between where you want to establish it and, the brand that you are buying. I think that's just the part that people need to get very, very correctly. The fact that a brand is doing very well in a particular geographical location does not mean you do very well in all geographical locations. So if you don't do your market study very well and you get to that location, you'll be disappointed. So that's the idea. It still works, but you still have to still do some basic analysis.
Okay. I think there's a question that was repeated here. Someone says, Sarah, I think she rephrased her question, that what are the best business models for people in the business of service? For example, those in the arts who have recording studios, photography studios, and so on. Well, what would be the best model for them to adopt?
Yeah, I think, again, it still depends on the kind of market you want to serve. Maybe there's a question before, maybe I answer that one first, then go back. So it depends on the market you want to serve. So for example, if you think about market segmentation, broadly, there are 3 categories, when we think about the market, right? The first category is the high net worth individuals market. These are people that earn significantly high income. If you put it in the Nigeria of today, or maybe in the Nigeria of December last year, we put it at people that are earning like 65 million naira and above. But with the whole, the whole thing that's happened to our naira now, maybe you're talking about people that are earning like 100 million above. Those are the high net worth individuals, in our context by the time we change their money to dollars, right? So then we have those that are like the middle class, and the middle class can be broken into upper middle and lower middle. For people that are in the upper middle, we're talking about people that earn between about 35 million per annum to the 100 million that we talk about. They are in the upper middle class. Their taste is different. They are not able to afford the luxury life of the high net worth individuals or those in the very upper class, but they are able to afford some premium things. So for example, you want to buy a vehicle, they can still buy a very solid Toyota. It's not a luxury car, but a functional car, right? To do whatever it is that they want to do. Then we have those at the lower middle class, where a lot of professionals in Nigeria fall into, or a lot of managers, not professionals, a lot of managers, in Nigeria fall into the lower middle class, right? You see people that earn between maybe like about 15 million, to about the 35 billion that I talked about. Now, when you now look at beyond that market, there is the market where we have the mass market. The mass market has some layers to it. Those that are the apex of the mass market and those that are the center of the mass market. But what it means is that when we talk about, different market segmentation, we're talking about people based on their income, what they can afford, right? So once you are able to really understand that in this country, the people based on their income that cannot afford to buy or spend this amount on, on maybe photography, for example, is 20 million. So if you think about celebrity photography, the question that comes to your mind is how many celebrities do we have in Nigeria? Or how many people can pay celebrity fee for photography in Nigeria? So that will help you also decide your positioning, because if you say celebrity, then it means that you have to be reaching people that are celebrity or are able to pay celebrity fees, for your service. So that's the whole concept around market segmentation. When you talk about business model that maybe works for arts and recording studios, for recording studios, the streaming bit works, right? I know that people have tried to build solutions that can help manage, both the revenue that comes to the artist and the studios in such a way that it's very easy to track that, okay, the royalty on playing this music is this percentage is for the studio, this percentage is for the artist. I know there's still a lot of conversation around that. But when you think about, music, the model that has worked very well, it's still that, streaming platforms where people have access to freemium to an extent. Then there are certain, certain tracks that you have to pay premium, to access. And when you also think about what platforms like, like YouTube, like Spotify, like, the major streaming platforms are also being able to do now is to say that bring your product, we get it for free, we play it for free, and we put some gates, some premium value for some people. So for example, on YouTube, every content on YouTube is literally like free, but the difference is that if you want to enjoy without adverts, you pay premium, right? So, but as a creator for YouTube, what it means is that as people like your music, as people like your videos, as you get your views, YouTube pays you for that service. So you can decide to be a content creator for streaming platforms, right, as a service. You can decide to be a content creator for, so we have a whole lot of them. There are channels, and what they just do is that they enable people to create content on YouTube. So from viewership, they get paid, and they of course also pay people that work with them. For art, it depends on, your approach to art as well. You can have a platform that gets people to pay as you go. You can have a platform that gets people to view collections for a fee. So almost like each time they want to view the collection, there's just a small amount that people pay that does not hurt them at all. to view collection. So you can have a platform where people can come for a virtual museum or virtual experience of different art collection and just pay a simple fee per time. So that can be a model that you do for the artwork, like the graphics and all of that you have there. So there are different ways one can exploit. And I think that based on the specific market segment you're trying to reach, you can think around some models that could work for you. I hope I've answered your question.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those responses. Yeah, even Chamba says that's great. Guys, there's the form that has been dropped in the group. It's there. I'm sure Sarah will speak more about it. Unfortunately, as much as we're having fun, we are out of time. And we'll need to bring this to a close. But before we close it, any final words, sir? And just any final words of encouragement, any final words for us? Any takeaway?
Okay. So my final words would be that entrepreneurship itself, it's an adventure, right? And it's an adventure that the only thing you are resolute about is you want to be able to create value, add value, and be successful at it. But in terms of what you will meet, you have to be open-minded to make adjustments. So as you learn, as you get new insights, as you learn, gather more information about the market, you need to be open-minded enough to iterate, and you should also think about your solution as value you are creating for customers, not what you love, but the value that you are creating for customers. So it means that you can be so much in love with a product that you think you have now, that you love it, it's perfect product, you really, really like it. But if customers don't like that product the way you like it, it's not going to make you money, right? So you need to be open-minded to iterate it to ensure that, at the end of the day, it aligns with what people really want. It's a tough journey, but it's a journey that one must take with resolute that being resolute that you want to create value, add value, but you have to be open-minded on that journey to pivot, to learn, to change, to evolve, so that you don't become like a BlackBerry that even after they've gained the market, they lose it out so quickly, or you don't become a Nokia, that was knocked out of the GSM market. Right. So those are just important things that we should note. But thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to have this conversation with you.
Okay. Thank you so much one more time. So as I turn this over to Justina, I know there are a lot of people that want to connect with you, and in case they have further ways that they can take advantage of your consultancy, maybe you drop it in the group for us. So I hand it back over to you, Justina.
Thank you so much, Bishop. Wow, very insightful session. Thank you so much, Mr. Akiwande. I mean, lots to take home, lots to learn this afternoon. And I'm sure everyone on the call also had the same experience. I really want to encourage everyone. I'm sure you had a good time. Can you just appreciate Mr. Akiwande as much as you can in the chat box? Make use of emojis. Just show your appreciation and thank him for coming to impact us with so much knowledge this afternoon. I think everything he has mentioned is very practical, especially for the category of people that are on this call. And I want to believe that something we are going to make use of. Learn from, and of course, don't focus on just the love you have for the products you are developing. Much more focus on your customers, focus on the consumers. I mean, that is what determines the growth and also the sustainability of your business. I mean, that's a lot. Thank you so much, Mr. Akinwande. I mean, I had a great time listening to you this afternoon. I'm sure thank you for honoring our invitation. Thank you for being here. And I'm sure that we are definitely going to invite you again. That definitely going to bring you. That'd be great time with you. So Mr. Akinwande is on LinkedIn. For those who would like to connect with him, he has dropped, I'm sure he dropped his LinkedIn URL already in the chat box. Feel free to connect with him. I'm sure he will also be open to connecting with you as well. Connect with him. Mr. Joshua is as well on LinkedIn. He's on LinkedIn as Anyo Umosu, not as Joshua, right? So you can also connect with him on LinkedIn. You can also drop your URL in the chat box with Mr. Joshua for those who would like to connect with you as well. So let's do well to connect with one another. Of course, here in Rome Business School, we make so much noise and emphasis on networking. And for entrepreneurs, I mean, you cannot just network. You cannot just but network. I mean, I don't know how best to say that, but it's so important for entrepreneurs. And so take advantage of this session, network, this experts now that happen here. So thank you all once again for staying through to the session. Mr. Akinwande was gracious enough to also drop the link to his slide in the chat box. So for those of us who can pick that up. And of course, we are also still going to do share the recording of this session alongside slides. So do well to fill the survey if you want to get those information and those documents. So thank you all once again for joining today's session. I want to appreciate everyone who took our time to be available. I much more appreciate our speaker, Mr. Akinwande. Thank you. Really appreciate this afternoon. Thank you for honoring our invitation, and thank you much more for the knowledge you have shared with us. Thank you also, Mr. Joshua. Thank you for being here. He's one of us, of course. It's also he has also taken out this time out of his busy schedule to be here this afternoon. So thank you so much. We do appreciate you for that. Thank you everyone who took out time as well to be on the session. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Have a great weekend. And don't forget to fill in the survey like I mentioned. And my name remains Justina Chair, the Entrepreneurship Program Manager. And on behalf of myself and my colleagues, I say thank you to everyone once again. Bye. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
All right. Bye, sir.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
And that's the link to the Canva there for those who want the link. Those are the slides. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher.